What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is going to be my Forma building guide for the Hall of Forms this month, which features Mareeta, Tanya, Saias, and Osian. So I'll be going over what I think of these units and if they are worth your Forma Soul or not, especially if you're a free-to-play player, and what kind of skills are the best skills that you can get on them, because even if you purchase Forma Souls, it's extremely important to get bang for a buck when you redeem them. And as always, if you guys do enjoy these Forma building guides which I make for every single Hall of Forms, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. So before you redeem your Forma Soul, make sure to check out my comprehensive Forma Soul guide if you have any kind of basic questions or doubts. I've covered pretty much the most asked questions there. And with that said, let's begin with Mareeta. So Mareeta is easily the best sword infantry unit who has appeared in Hall of Forms compared to the previous ones like Larce, Shannon, Fallen Celica. So if you're trying to get Larce or Shannon, and if you still like Mareeta a lot, then you can definitely try to go for Mareeta, because in the end she's going to be ending up to be a better unit because of her sword, which has got null follow-up built into it. So Mareeta's sword is a preferred weapon giving you -1 special cooldown, which is really great, has got amazing synergy with Time Pulse and 2-turn specials, and she has a 4-turn Gale Force, so that is really great. And she just needs to be alone to trigger this weapon, and if that condition is met, then she can get +4 to all of her stats, and she's got null follow-up in her weapon. So I feel like the combination of null follow-up and the damage reduction slot B skill that she can run is really invaluable in the state of the game, especially having that null follow-up is going to be absolutely amazing, and that's why I say that she's going to be better than any other sword infantry unit who has appeared in the Hall of Forms. And I definitely think that she's one of the better units who can work at lower investment, like lower merges, +1/+2 merge, because she's a pretty good unit overall in herself, and the fact that she's got null follow-up and close call is going to be doing you a lot of favors right now against many of the threats in the game. Still, there are some other sword infantry units like Winter Altina or even Fallen Ike who can work same if not better at lower investment. So it really depends on your barracks if you have a need for her, and if you want to use her for a specific game mode, definitely try to think about that, because we have a lot of sword infantry units in the game and you might have some really good ones already present. So it really depends, but overall she's going to be a pretty good unit even at lower investments if you're trying to use your Forma Soul on Mareeta. She already comes with a pretty good base kit, and it's the same thing as Larce. Her base kit is already pretty good, but still you can try to get some premium skills if you are going to be trying to get the Forma Soul. So for her weapon, it's basically for the aesthetics. You can go for Unbound Blade, which is a 5-star locked weapon. You can go for the cute Bell Ringer, or you could go with the Ninja Katana. So it's completely up to you which weapon you like more aesthetically, because realistically you're not going to be using anything other than Mareeta's sword after you get her. So for her slot A, Distant Counter is going to be the best slot A skill pretty much for most of the builds. So you try to go for that, and in slot B you can have the option of getting Spurn 3 if you really want to get that extra 5 damage. She already comes with Close Call, which I feel like is, enough. Spurn is just marginally better, and in some situations like Close Call can actually be better for retreating, but if you really want to get that extra 5 damage, then you can go for that. Otherwise you can try for Null C Disrupt or even go for Lull Attack Speed. Time Pulse is going to be pretty much her best slot C option, I feel like, because she has got a -1 special cooldown on her preferred weapon, and with a 2-turn special like Ruptured Sky, she could have it pre-charged, and that means that in the player phase she can trigger it twice in a single round of combat, and if she's getting attacked in the enemy phase, even if the opponent has got any kind of guard effect, she can still retaliate back with a special. So it works out really well with the 2-turn cooldown special and her preferred weapon, so that could be done. And the first build is basically going to be the build which most people are going to be trying to get. Now if you're already satisfied with Close Call, which I personally am, then you can try to go for Null Counter Disrupt, and this can definitely help you in Ether Raid's offense, because she will have null follow-up in her weapon as well as Null Counter Disrupt, and you're going to be trying to use her on like a triple tanking or a double tanking team. Do not try to use her as a solo carry without damage reduction at lower investments. So for that, Null Counter Disrupt can help you, and Pulse Smoke can also help you in Ether Raid's offense in general if you're going to be trying to use her in that game mode. And you can also go for a Gale Force build essentially with Ninja Katana, have Flashing Blade 4, and this is an option if you already have Distant Counter on her. And you can go with Odd Tempest, and that will give you pretty nice Gale Force potential, the extra movement. So you can definitely try to go for that if you already have Distant Counter and you don't really want to just go with the damage reduction skill on Null Counter Disrupt. Joint Drive Speed is also an alternate slot C option if you cannot really get any of these skills. I really like Time Pulse though for her slot C, as I mentioned before. Tanya is also present in the Hall of Forms, and she is a 3-star 4-star unit, which means that a lot of people might try to plus and merge her, and this is a really good opportunity to get a lot of premium skills on her because her base kit is absolutely abhorrent to look at. She has got pass of all things. So she really makes use of the premium skills. Now before we move on to the skills section, I really want to show up how she compares to the free-to-play colorless archers. So here we have Norn and Young Ines, who is a recent Tempest Trial unit, and she is basically overshadowed by Norn at this point because Norn just has better stat distribution, has better defense, which is really good for tanking, and just has better BST, so that ends up working out much better in Norn's favor. Not to mention we also have Young Ines recently, who just is such a good unit, and at max investment, Young Ines is going to be turning out to be better if you're trying to invest into him. I know a lot of people are, and if that's the case, then Tanya doesn't really do too much for you unless you want to have a specific tanking build with Spendthrift Bow. But yeah, basically Tanya can get the expensive skills, which is good if you're trying to make her as a merge project, but ultimately she's overshadowed by the other two colorless archers here like Norn and Young Ines, and Young Ines does have that Deadeye effect in his bow, and that is going to be aging up to be really better as we see more and more damage reduction skills. With that said, if you're still interested in Tanya and if you want to build her up, then here are some of the best skills that you can run on her. Definitely try to go for Spendthrift Bow or Pelagian Bow. These are the two best bows in the game in my opinion, and Tanya really needs them because her attack isn't the highest and these really help her with that. For the special you could go with Deadeye, even though it might not have the best synergy with the Spendthrift Bow because it's a very rare special skill for an archer that can help you pierce through the damage reduction. And in future if you want to run Slaying Bow on her, then you can pretty much have a one-turn Deadeye with Time Pulse if you go for that. So I definitely recommend getting Deadeye, but if not, then Ruptured Sky also works out. Really try to get the Deadeye here. And for slot A, you want to run Attack Speed Solo 4, that works out really well. And Null Follow-Up is going to be pretty much her best slot B skill for most of the game modes. And you can also go with Time Pulse in slot C, which can help Deadeye be a 2 cooldown special, which is really good. She's going to be used a lot in Ether Raid's offense, and this is pretty much how you build up Norn, and you can do the same thing with Tanya, as I've shown here with the first two builds. So you can go with that, and if you really want to use her in Ether Raid's offense, then try to go for Pulse Smoke. That could definitely help you as an option. And you can even go with Attack Res Unity, that's also a pretty good skill in Ether Raid's offense, and can also give her extra attack, especially in the Astro season where she will get debuffed by Mirabilis. So that's a pretty excellent option. And then finally, if you want to have Close Foil or Close Counter, then you can pretty much go for that. I feel like she needs Close Foil because the extra attack is really amazing for her. So that could be done. And then finally, if you just want to have an offensive build, then you can go with Attack Speed Push 4, Null Follow-Up, and Time Pulse. I feel like Attack Speed Solo is better because it works out better in Ether Raid's offense because you're not going to be taking any kind of chip damage. But still, if you don't really care about Ether Raid's offense that much, then you can definitely go with this. So you're going to be saving up a lot of the resources because she needs a lot of expensive fodder to work out in Ether Raid's offense or just in general as a really good bow unit. We also have Saias in this Hall of Forms, and he's often not talked about that much because Bronya is a more popular Grail project. But honestly, Saias is a very strong unit himself because of his Weapon Refine, which is basically a broadleaf effect, which we have seen on Matthew, Ursula, and we also have that on Arvis. Not only that, but his support with debuffs is really good because it's extremely consistent, and without having any kind of stat checks, he can apply debuffs to a wide range of area on the map, and that is extremely good for something like Arena. And if you've seen my best B-Dual infantry users, then I still believe that he is basically the best free-to-play B-Dual infantry user if you do have extra Marianne, because the exclusive Arena skills and the dual skills basically do not appear in Hall of Forms. So he can be a pretty good option if you're trying to use him as a merge project for Arena, which does give you really good damage output if you just use a lot of debuffs on your team, and with his tome alone he can get the debuffs. So honestly, he's an underrated unit that can definitely work out with his Weapon Refine. Of course, Bronya is going to be the more popular and more used unit because she's much better in something like Ether Raid's offense. Saias can also be used with a Close Counter Vantage build, similar to how you would do that on a Broadleaf fan user. I do use that on my Soth, but the problem with Saias is that his HP is not really that high and he's kind of frail on the defensive side, unlike Bronya. So I would only suggest going for him if you're trying to build him up to +10 and if he's your merge project. Otherwise, getting one-off copy on him is not going to be worth it at all. So if you want to build him up, then you can definitely go with War God's Tomes Weapon Refine. Keep in mind, if you do not have him refined yet, then going with the Weapon Refine in the Hall of Forms is actually going to be saving you 200 Divine Dues, and that is pretty significant amount. Otherwise, if you already have him refined, then you can go with Flora Guide, or you can even go with Juicy Wave. So those two are just the alternate options. And for his slot A, you can basically go with the speed option, or you can go with the resistance option. Attack speed solo 4 and attack speed push 4 are pretty great speedy options, and you can also go with attack res unity, and that can actually help you in Itherate's offense quite a bit. For slot B, again you have to make the choice between lull speed resistance and lull attack resistance. I feel like lull attack resistance is going to be helping you more in arena if you do want to use him as B dual infantry unit, because he can tank hits much better, and then time pulse works out pretty well because he can retaliate back with stuff like Ruptured Sky. So for the first build, you have that speedy option. For the second build is basically hybrid if you want to use him both in arena and ether raids. And you can also go with the third build, which does have Panic Smoke. Panic Smoke is going to be a pretty useful skill in arena and even sometimes in ether raids offense, because people do use visible buffs sometimes. So having those debuffs just stack upon the penalties of Panic Ploy, or the Panic Smoke rather, is going to be helping you get even more damage output. So Panic Smoke is a pretty good option that you could opt for in general on Saias. And then finally, if you want to use them in Itherate's offense, like I said before, you can go with Close Counter or Close Foil and then run Vantage on him later on. But you can also have Lull Attack Resistance in case you want to use him in Arena. So again, try to cover both of the modes if you can, because it's going to be really helpful there. And he has the option of going with Panic Smoke, like I said. Otherwise, go with Pulse Smoke if you think you're going to be using him more in Itherate's offense. He can definitely pack a punch because of his broadly fan effect, but keep in mind that he does not have a lot of HP, so Tactics Room and Panic Manners are going to be annoying, and his defense isn't the highest. And a broadly fan user like a Soth, which I use a lot in Master Season, he's colorless. Saias, on the other hand, is blue color, so that color could be a hindrance many times, but still, if you do want to use him, then this is an option. And then finally, you can go with Null Follow-Up and a speed boosting skill. That's also an option, but overall, lull skills are going to be helpful if you want to use him in Arena, and I feel like he definitely shines more in Arena as a B-dual infantry user, because he can provide you the support and also hit pretty hard. The final unit in this Hall of Forms is Osian. So Osian unfortunately has a lot of competition and he doesn't have the best preferred weapon. So Vuj is basically a conditional distant counter weapon. It requires him to be above half health, and it also has -1 special trigger cooldown. So the -1 special cooldown is pretty useful, but as a distant counter unit, like, he's not the best. There are a lot of really good acts. Not to mention we've got Brave Ike, the damage reduction god, and he also has a resplendent version and he gets way more reruns. So it's easier to, you know, plus and merge him or just get merges on him compared to Osian. You do have Divine Code Section 2 where you can actually get Osian, so that's actually pretty good if you want to merge him up. But I would only recommend you go for Osian if you really like him as a character, and if you want to get like plus and merge on him. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, for most people, he's not going to be just giving you that much value. Steadfast Axe is actually the best 5-star locked axe that you can get in this Hall of Forms, so I would highly recommend you to do that, because the other axes are just available on the Grail units. Like Deck Swabber and Plagian Axe are also options, but you can easily get them from the Heroic Grails. And Steadfast Axe is actually locked to a 5-star Dedu, whose most of the time is going to be used for the near save. So you can try to go for that, and it's a pretty decent weapon giving you the debuff neutralization, but ultimately you're probably going to be using Vuj more, but still this is a good option if you want to use them for the melee matchups. Try to go for a speed boosting skill like Attack Speed Solo or Kestrel Stance on a slot A, and try to go for the damage reduction skill, because at max investment he can actually function as a pretty good tank basically using that, and he does have distant counter in his weapon, so that could help you. Time Pulse is actually going to be a really good option for his slot C again, because he has got -1 special cooldown, like I explained before in Mareeta's section. That is really nice whenever you have a -1 special cooldown weapon. And he already comes with Mirror Stance, but if you want a stance skill really bad, then Kestrel Stance can help you with a damage reduction build. And then you can also go with Attack Res Unity and Null Follow Up with Pulse Smoke if you want to use him in Itherate's offense. So Attack Res Unity is going to be paying you really well, and Null Follow Up just disables any kind of cheating. And Pulse Smoke is going to be helpful against pre-charged specials. So that is going to be the Hall of Forms, and the next Hall of Forms is going to be Binding Blade next month, and this is going to be my educated guess. So make sure you come back and see if my guesses were right or not. I feel like green is going to be a pretty strong unit for the red pool. I think they probably are going to be going with that. I just have a feeling that they might go with Percival in the blue pool or Branya. Branya is less likely because she's actually a really good Grail unit. But then again, they did have young Minerva, so Brenya could actually happen. So these are the two options which I'm really considering for the blue pool that they might do. And for green, they might just go with Echidna or Springfear. These two are going to be the options. It's kind of interchangeable for blue and green color. Hard for me to guess exactly the same. And I have more confidence in my red and colorless pick here. Laurum is the only dancer from Binding Blade, so she does have value in limited hero battles, resonant battles, and the people who do spend money on Forma Souls will not mind getting Laurum because she's a really rare unit. So that's my guess for the Hall of Forms next month. So overall for the Thracia Hall of Forms, I feel like Mareeta is going to be the best option, and after that, probably Saias. Tanya, as I said, is overshadowed, and so is Osian. So Mareeta and Saias are going to be the two strong options, and I think that Mareeta is going to be a pretty popular pick among people who are trying to plus and merger or just use her even at lower investments. So let me know in the comments what you think about these Hall of Form units, and make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to build up any of these Forma units, because I did go over the best options that you could run, and I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. And if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as distant counter weapon of Osian when he's below 50% HP. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.